All right, let's get down to it first. Can K go out? Legitimately, can K go out with a national title? Like, we all talk about Gonzaga right now, Kentucky. I feel like Duke has almost kind of snuck up on and gone under the radar in a way because they've lost some games that we didn't think they'd lose, right? Home games. And they're in the ACC, which is kind of like a mid-major league this year.
Yeah. I think they can. I do think that they can win it all. They've shot it really well in conference play. That was the question. Can they shoot? And I think that they've answered that question is yes. Now, they don't take a lot, and they don't take a lot of threes, but they're shooting a good percentage on the ones they do. I think their guards can be very dynamic in the sense that you've got a guy in Banchero who's a forward, but he's an elite player. Wendell Moore is an everything player. Trevor Keels played really well against Pittsburgh. I just think we saw what he could do in the champions, even though that's freaking, forever ago.
Time ago.
I know, but he's a tank. I like Mark Williams a lot. AJ Griffin is a really talented dude. So yeah, I think that they could win it all.
Do you still worry about their point guard play or not as much anymore?
Not as much anymore. I think that it's more of a committee thing, and that's just the way it is, and that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, and I still kind of go back to the fact that, all right, what team is going to put more talent out on the court than Duke? Right. Like, you have legitimately, again, Paolo's going to go top 3. AJ Griffin's going to go somewhere in the lottery. Mark Williams is going to go somewhere in the first round. Wendell Moore go in the second round. Who else can match up with all that?
Yeah, there's not many teams that are bringing that type of talent. Now, there's teams that have like Auburn is talented, but they don't have that many first-round type players in their team. I don't know if anybody does. Probably not.
How crazy would it be if Coach K wins this whole thing in his finals?
I mean, it would just be like that's a fairy tale type thing. Right. That's what that is. He walks off into the sunset. He's a national champion. He hands it off to a former player. That would be insane.
By the way, the question I asked him today, and you're always told, like, my number one rule is when you ask a question, you can't ask a double barrel question. You can't ask a two-parter, but I did it. I did it today. My first one, I know it went against everything I believe in as a journalist.
Breaking his own rules.
But really, he had talked earlier in the press conference about how he felt like he and the other coaches in the fraternity weren't able to enact change within college basketball like he wanted to. And I had talked to him about 3 or 4 years ago in a sit down, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, when I was with ESPN, about his relationship with Emory. And he kind of laughed at me because basically I was saying, like, why don't you call him? And he's like, no, you don't understand. We don't have really any. So I asked him today, I said, how many times in your career do you think you've spoken to Mark Emory? And he basically
asked that at the press conference.
Yeah, I wanted to know, like why it's so ridiculous that Mark Emmert, who runs the NCAA, wouldn't be talking to the greatest coach in college basketball history, right? Like, wouldn't be having him on speed dial and asking him what he thinks.
Before you keep going, I think it's hilarious that at a press conference that's supposed to be like, Coach, what's your favorite game? And what was your first game here like? And what's your memories of Carolina? And what was your favorite title team? Your freaking ass is being like, hey, how many times you talked to Mark Emmert? I mean, what? All right, keep going.
He gave a great answer, which was basically like, I haven't talked to him in a long time. Like, not lately. He said, they had kind of a summit years ago, like with I think George Raveling helped put it together at the NCAA, but he said nothing. Like, he doesn't ask for my input at all. And I felt like it actually is. It may not be relevant to Saturday, but it is completely relevant to what he was talking about earlier in the press conference about him not being able to enact change. Well, he's not able to do it because Mark Emmert doesn't give a shit about what Coach K thinks. So, like, I wanted to get the context of that a little bit of like.
So wait, then what was the two-parter? What was the second part?
The other one was, what do you remember about your first game ever coaching at Cameron?
Wait, so your two-part question was, Coach, have you talked to Mark Emmert, and what do you remember about your first game?
I reversed them, though. I said
they weren't even in this. I thought you were going to say the 2-part question needs to be, have you talked to Mark Emmert, and how much change do you think you've enacted? You went with 2 questions that were not even in the same freaking stratosphere of each other.
Completely different. Completely different.
You embarrass the media, your media brother.
They were 2 terrific questions. They were terrific. He said he didn't remember a thing about his first game coaching at Cameron, not a thing. And then he gave me a great answer about Emmert. He actually started with the Emmert answer and then remembered, which was impressive. Most coaches, if you ask a dumb double barrel question like I did, you forget, right? Like what was that first question? Especially at 75 years old. It just shows you how with it. That's the one thing about like Boeheim and Kay, like they're getting old. And I think Boeheim will probably do something similar soon. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it after the year, like what Kay did with Shire, because they're buddies. And I think Boeheim saw how it's worked for Shire. Yeah. Like, look at what they've done in the recruiting trail.
No, I think that the associate head coach in waiting is not a bad play. It is not. They worry about recruiting. They get their feet wet. They understand kind of what the job is like. Not that John needed to. He's been around there a long time. But you start to, instead of getting thrown into the freaking deep end, you get to jump in the shallow end.
When are you going to be the coach in waiting when Painter retires?
I'm sure Purdue will really want that. Yeah, that would be a letdown hire. I feel like for Purdue University.
How bad of a coach you think you'd be?
I honestly think I would be okay. I think I would need to surround myself with really good assistants.
Hard workers, because you're lazy as shit.
That is not true. I am not lazy. I would work hard.
Did you see my clear on you?
I see all those stupid ass tweets that you sent as if I've not been doing shit for the last 4 months. I honestly would need to learn how to run a college program. That would be my issue. But I think, and honestly, a little bit, I would need to learn how to coach.
It's easy to do it from that chair.
No. I know. I shouldn't have said that I would. I think I could become good at it would be more accurate than I would be good at it.
I actually do. I hate to admit it, but I think you'd actually be a pretty good coach. Admit it. It really does.
Oh, good. I'm glad you admit it then.
Shire's a year older than you. Is that right?
He's 1 year older than me. Yeah. We had some battles. We had some battles on actually our whole career. John and I have played against each other a lot from the time we were in high school on.
Is it crazy to think?
Yes. You don't even have to finish the question. The fact that he is going to be the coach at Duke University blows my mind. And that's not disrespectful to John at all. I say that because there's one coach that I know of at Duke, and that is Mike Krzyzewski. I will say this about John. He beat me in every game that I actually cared about, and I beat him in every game that did not matter. AAU, we would beat the Illinois Warriors. I don't know if we ever lost to John in AAU. He would have 40 points, but we would win. Yeah. Then we get to college. They kick our ass the Big Ten ACC Challenge at Purdue. After I blow my knee out, they beat us in the NCAA tournament to knock us out of the Sweet 16. They win the whole thing. We play each other in Gran Canaria in a game in the ACB, my rookie year, his second year. And we beat them. They had a 3 at the buzzer. I actually blocked. I think it might have been his shot. I might have blocked his shot to win the game. And I remember thinking, like, dude, I beat this dude in all the most freaking irrelevant games ever. Like, who cares we beat him in Spain? I wanted him in the NCAA tournament. Not that I didn't get to play in the game, but